Hi and welcome back to this new NestJS series about JWT authentication and password hashing. And we go a little bit over the structure here. So first we want to have an overview of the video series. What are we doing? How are we achieving that everything is Dockerized very easily and that we have a good Git history? Then we want to read the user story for this video and for the following videos. And then we implement the user story and close it. So let's have a short overview over this video series. So here the first part is general information. So this series or this repository will be about implementing JWT authorization with NestJS and also password hashing. We have an according YouTube playlist which is linked. This repository is a clone of our NestJS Dockerized project, and you can see here more about the concept. And we have our start commands for Docker Compose. And the concept of the series is we make for every part, like for JWT, for example, role-based access control and so on, our own series. And we always clone or fork the project before, so that the first projects always stay the same and don't have any interference in the Git history and are always valid, and the YouTube playlist is always valid. So you can see it here. With every series, we clone fork the last project so that the code is always up to date with the according project. And here we have our list. So the first was NestJS Dockerized project, which was the initial project. It's a clone or fork of none. The repository link is here, and the YouTube playlist link is here. And then the second series, which this series here, is the NestJS Auth JWT. This is a clone of this project. And here we have the repository link and the YouTube playlist link. You will need npm node nest.js docker, and here we have some basic commands. So like the concept is, we will always, for every part that we are doing, we'll make a new project, clone or fork the last project, and then we have like good history. So let's have a short look at our stories. So you can see here we are in the NestJS JWT Auth video series, and we have like 4 stories prepared. So the first one is setting up the project. The second one will be add register and login routes with password hashing and saving it to the database. The NestJS third video will be adding JWT generation with the login route. And the last video will be like test everything, document, check that everything is correct, and so on, and close open stories, whatever. So if this year the implementation will take longer, then there will maybe a 5th video, whatever we need. But normally every story should be done in 1 video. So the first video that we will do now is the first story. So the story is as a project lead. The project should be set up so we can start with coding the next video. So here we will do everything that we need so that the project is set up correctly. Our acceptance criteria are we want to clone the project from NestJS Dockerized project. So in this video series, we want to add like password hashing, login register, and so on, and JWT generation for the login route. And this should all happen in a NestJS Dockerized version environment, whatever you like to call it. And so in one of my last videos, I made like a NestJS basic sample, which is Dockerized and is connected to a Postgres image in Docker. And so we clone this project when we have like the basic stuff, everything, and we can on this add like the JWT, the password hashing, and so on. And then we will still have a clean history. So the old project stays in its own repository. The new project has the Git history. You can also go to the linked YouTube videos if there's something that's interesting for you, and so on. So let's continue with this here. Then we want to init the repository with Git Flow. We want to add the PgAdminer dependency to Docker Compose. This is because with PgAdminer we can connect to our Postgres database and run simple SQL queries, whatever we like to do. We want to update Nest because Nest at the moment is for this project here for NestJS Dockerized, I think in version 7.0, and at the moment 7.5 would be up to date. We want to update the Readme file, we want to add an API prefix, and we want to start everything, so with Docker Compose up, and we want to enter the database connection in our PgAdminer. So with this we can start, so we can move our card or our story to doing. And you can see it here. This was the NestJS Dockerized project. And since I am the owner, I cannot fork it. And so what I did was just going to import repository, added here the URL from the old repository from the NestJS Dockerized, and created the NestJS Auth JWT. So this is just a clone from the old repository, and I already cloned it here to my local. So we can see it here. We are at the moment on branch master, and now we want to init Git Flow, so we say Git Flow Init. So the next development is development, and everything should be fine. So we can say git branch, and we now have a new develop branch, which we are on because it's green. So now we want to switch to a new branch or a new feature branch where we can do all the changes that we have in our story. So we say git flow feature start, and now we name this exactly like our story is named, so that we have it easier later without the. And this will now create a new feature branch based on the develop branch. And so you see we have a new branch feature, NestJS Auth JWT 01. And we are already on this branch. And this has been created from the develop branch. So we can clear this here up. And so let's look in our story. So we can, for example, we have cloned the project correctly. We have knitted everything with Git Flow. Now we want to add PgAdminer dependency to Docker Compose. And we can do this very simple because you can see here we are having our API, which will be built from our Docker file that is lying here. There. Then we have our Postgres database. And now we want to have a new dependency for our PgAdminer. So I have just prepared this here. And now we have to, I called it Postgres admin. And everything is right. So this is here. And now we can move this ports also to the bottom so that everything here looks the same. So that everywhere we have like the environment, when the ports, environment ports, environment ports. And if there's anything interesting for you for Docker Compose, how it works, then go to the last series, which will be added in the Readme right now. So now we have our API or NestJS, which will run, which will connect to our Postgres database. We can reach it on the public port 8080 from outside the container, and the Postgres database from 35,000, and our PostgreAdminer from port 5050 from the outside. And inside our container, this is running for port 3000, this for 5432, and this for port 80. And if there is something interesting for you, you can go to the last videos where I made this, because there I explain everything with the ports and so on. So now we can go to the next stuff. So you see here, we have now added PgAdminer dependency to our Docker Compose. Now we want to update the NestJS. So we can close this, and we can just say, or we can go also to the documentation, NestJS update. And we can go to update. And you see update NestJS and dependencies in the package JSON to the latest version. So we can have to force it. And so we can say nest update with force. And then you see at the moment we are here on 7.0, and later we should be on 7.5, whatever is the latest version. So you can see now it has removed it, and now it should be added again. Let's wait till it's finished. Now you see here we have now NestJS common is 7.6, core also 7.6, and so on. And we could also update the CLI, for example. Let's see, 7.5.4, 7.2.6, and testing can also be updated to 7.6.5. So then we can set this part of the acceptance criteria also to done. Then as next we want to update our Readme. Let's go to 7.4.4. It says so, and this here is going to 7.5.1. Let's give it a moment. Perfect. Okay. And now we can go to the Readme, and I already prepared the final Readme for us. So we just need to copy and paste, and now we will go through it. So like the general information is what I already told you in the beginning. So this repository is about implementing the JWT authorization with NestJS. So this repository, there is the YouTube playlist, can be found here. So this has its own playlist. The repository is a clone of the project NestJS Dockerized. And you can see more here under the concept. These are the start commands for Docker Compose file and information. So if you run Docker Compose up, what we will do later, it will build, recreate, starts, and attaches containers for our services and images. And the information is that the database can be accessed with PgAdmin via localhost 5050. And then we can have to connect to our database. And if you don't know how this is working, just go to this YouTube video here, because we will do this later. Then we have our NestJS API, which we can be accessed on localhost 8080. And this should be /API because we want to have a prefix. So then we have our concept of the series. With every series, we clone fork the last project so that the code is always up to date with our according project. The list is in order with all YouTube playlists and repository links. So the first is the NestJS Dockerized project or repository. This is a clone or fork of none other, so this is the first. The repository link is here. The YouTube playlist for all the videos for this series is here. The second one that we are doing now is the NestJS JWT Auth or Auth JWT series. And this is a clone of this, of the NestJS Dockerized. This is the repository link, and this is the YouTube playlist. If you want to install this, you need npm, you need Nodejs, NestJS, Docker, so everything that you need. And here are some basic commands for Docker, for example. List all your Docker images, list your running containers, list all the stopped containers, kill a running container, and so on. So now we can already set this update readme also to done. Then we want to add our API prefix, and this can be done very easily in our main TS file. We can just say app.use so we can Google for this. So to have a global prefix, we can just say app set global prefix. So we can say app.set global prefix and set this prefix to API. So now we have, like we said in our readme, localhost 8080/API. So we can set this also to done. And then we want to start everything and enter the database connection in our Adminer. So let's just call Docker Compose up and see if everything is running correctly. So now we can see it's pulling all the images from the Docker Hub that we need, that we have in our Docker Compose file. So just wait a bit, this can take some time because we need the Postgres image, the I think Node, also the PostgAdminer, and so on. You see now we have here downloaded a new image for Postgres 10.4. We are downloading Node 12 and so on. Now we have to wait. This will be just in the first. Later we have everything if we run it again. We can add here a second terminal and then later look if everything is running. So just give it a time. So now you can see here we are running or installing everything from our package.json, from our NestJS application. And just to go through our NestJS application in a short thing, here we have our database URL that we are providing here in the Docker compose. So we have here environment variables, the database URL that we are accessing here in our app module. So we have type ORM installed and the config module, so that we have access to the environment variables. We are autoload entities and synchronize everything. And then we have like a user module here, which is just for our user entity and which is very basic at this moment. So this was just in the first series for NestJS Dockerize to test that everything is working and the connected to that database works correctly. So the user is just having an ID and name. And the same goes for the interface. And the controller is just having a post and a get method where you can add a user and find all users. But it's very simple, so there is no JWT, no password hashing, nothing at all. So this will be implemented in this series. So we can then, if everything here is running, we can verify with Postman that we can add a simple user with name and that we can find all users. So now we can see our NestJS started and connected to our database and everything here. So now we can go to localhost 8080. And I think we need to /API. And now you see hello world. And this comes because on the root of our project in our app service, we have a get hello for hello world, and this is just for base route. So we have here our controller. We have a simple get for the /API, and this returns just our app service get hello and hello world. So actually we can zoom a little bit into. So you can see everything, sorry. In the next series or in the next video, we will be zooming directly from the start. And then you can see here for our user, we have also a controller /users where we should return all users. And there should be nothing in it because we didn't add anything. So there is nothing, so an empty array. And now we can set up the connection from PgAdmin. So we can go to port 5050. And there should be like, so we can now go to localhost 5050 and have our admin log in. So we can admin de. So this is like the username and the password that we are having here in our Docker Compose for our Postgres or the PgAdmin image. We have admin de, and password is simple password. So we can copy paste it here and then just log in. Don't want to save it. And now you see we are not having any servers right now. So we want to add our new server. Let's say nest database. And then we have to enter our connection. So we go for localhost port 5432 because we are inside our Docker container. The database is db. This is like the same here how we named our database. Our username is user. like here, and our Postgres password is also password. And then we can save it. So the host is probably Postgres. Let's try it again. Yeah, this looks good. So we have here our Nest database. We can go, for example, into our DB and go to our tables. And you see here we have our user entity, which is simply just having the ID and the name. And now we could go to Postman, for example, and go for /API/users, make a post request with a body JWT where we just specify the name. And then we get a response where we have new now created. So if we now make a GET request for /API/users, we should get an array with one user returned. And if we query here, for example, the database, so let's say select all from user entity and run it, then we see we have one entry in our database. So now we can go to our story. So here is the story, and now we have start everything and enter database connection. So this works, and we also have set up. Let's just add it to the story to be correctly added base requests in Postman. So we can save it, and now we can move the story to done because we have done all the acceptance criteria points. So now we can go into our story, then to our code. We can kill the running containers, wait a bit, and then we can commit all the changes and merge it back into our develop branch. So now we can say git add upper A, git commit. And now we can name this commit exactly like our story is. So this here. And then we say what we did. Added PgAdminer. Added global prefix. And what else have we done? Changed, or let's say updated Readme. And what have we done? Init project. Yeah, so this says everything that we did. So now we can say git flow feature finish and merge it back onto our develop branch. Now you see we are back. We merged our feature branch back on develop. We deleted this feature branch and we are now back on develop. And now we can say we want to git push this branch to our GitHub repository. And then at the end, after all videos, we can merge our develop branch back into master and close or delete the develop branch.